Hello, this is Crawford-Clark Close Up. I am James, and I've got my mate Sean with me from university. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. All right.
Yeah.
So Sean's YouTube channel is Kubrick Corner, and it is a belter. So you should go across to there and check out the videos because it's sort of reviews of latest releases. Although of course we haven't got many of those at the moment, and some sort of older sort of snippets and things in there as well. I've noticed. Sean, tell my channel a little bit about yourself.
So like you, I graduated from UE in 2008. We were just pointing out the graduation photo. My graduation photo.
Yeah,
I
I have
wish we were
nothing
both
behind me. Sorry.
at that. So I graduated with a degree in film and English in 2008, and I've now become a digital journalist. My primary outlet is I'm the editor for cineworld.co.uk/blog. So I maintain the editorial content on there, which is an interesting challenge at the moment with the film schedule having been thrown into complete disarray.
Yeah.
It was actually rather exciting how it prompts you to think of ideas outside of the box, actually. So
Yeah, absolutely.
in this situation, you've got to find positive, like sort of silver linings where you can, really, I think.
Cool. So, what's the next kind of output that we're gonna see on your particular channel? Do you think? Like, are you sort of working on anything particular at the moment, or is it just kind of taking a bit of a back step for you at the moment?
I mean, you think in terms of like video on like Kubrick Corner, I've been doing that intermittently. Again, with the film schedule being down, it's difficult. I have been doing like on and off, like sort of diary entries, like sort of charting my reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic, because I think it's important that this situation kind of goes beyond films in a way, and I
Yeah.
think that so many people are being emotionally and physically and psychologically affected by this, and I haven't done a video now for a couple of weeks, but I am planning to pick it up again, just charting my emotional response to this.
Yeah.
Folded into that is my general thoughts about what might happen with the film industry and cinema industry, because my fate as a professional is tethered to both of those things, and I don't know what on earth is going to happen in the coming weeks and months, and
Yeah.
that is understandably causing a lot of anxiety for me. And
Yeah.
that I think it's important that if you're creating video content, that you try and reach out on a personal level to people.
Yeah.
So that it's kind of veered off what I would normally use those videos for at the moment.
Yeah, that's
But
fair enough. I mean, the situation as it is at the moment calls for, like you said, calls for like a personal response to what's happening. Because if you are producing sort of social media content, then your followers want to know, what's happening for you, like why certain things perhaps are not happening as quickly as they normally would, or just how you are generally. I mean, that's why I did a video myself. Literally, I think I put it out 2 days before we actually went into lockdown in this country. So yeah, it's I mean, nothing has particularly changed all that much for me at the moment. I'm still still social distancing in the best way that I can. Just to give a bit of background to myself, then, because I've realised I haven't really done this before on my channel either. So for my for my subscribers on my channel, um, same as what Sean just said. Basically, we both graduated from UE in Bristol, 2008, 12 years ago.
amazingly.
It's insane. It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane. 15 years ago in September, we started uni.
That's
15
astonishing.
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Seems like a much more innocent time, much anxiety-free time
Yes.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I work for the NHS, and Sean's already called me a hero. So done my blushing and everything. I've
You are,
got that
you
all
are,
out of the system.
you are a hero, yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
I'm not as much of a hero as the ones that are out on the front line, but I do appreciate you
Mm.
praising my
Mm.
efforts. Right, so for Sean and I, this was a chance to sort of catch up, because we were saying when we sort of first started speaking tonight that we probably haven't spoken to each other properly for a couple of years. So
Yeah,
we've got quite a lot to catch up on.
yeah.
Yeah, so what I kind of wanted to talk about, just as a little sort of segment, and we can do more of these if they prove popular and you fancy doing them, but I just kind of thought I would ask you a few sort of Bond related questions, because it's been on the radar. We've sort of spoken briefly as well about No Time to Die and how it's delayed till November, if it does come out in November. So yeah, I've got a few little questions and things for you. I've got the first one I'd like you to consider. Let me have a look at. Sorry, I'm looking down at my phone because I've got an interesting theory for you. Okay.
Okay.
So, create your ultimate Bond film. I want to know your Bond, your villain, your henchman or henchwoman, your Bond woman, and your car. Okay, so let's start with the first category. So which Bond would you choose? Would you choose Connery, Lazenby, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, or Craig?
I mean, I really like Daniel Craig. I think Daniel Craig combines the facets of all the previous Bond actors, and he plays it as a human being. I mean, I think, you know, despite the blockbuster success, I think the Pierce Brosnan era did go into caricature, and we did lose sight of Bond as a person.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I'd say Craig without a doubt. I think he's fantastic.
Cool. So ultimate Bond film has a Bond. So for you, it's Craig. Cool. How about your villain? So there are 6 to choose from this particular list. So you can have Mr. Auric Goldfinger. You can have Donald Pleasance's Blofeld. You can have Mr. Javier Bardem's Raul Silva. You can have Mads Mikkelsen's excellent Le Chiffre. You can have Sophie Marceau's very lovely Electra King. Or you can have Yaphet Kotto's Mr. Big or Dr. Kananga.
See, I was tempted by the presence of Sophie Marceau, because I think it's relatively unusual, as the world is not enough demonstrates, to have someone introduced as a Bond girl who actually then turns out to be the arch mastermind behind everything. I can't really recall any other Bond film having done that.
No, I don't think there is.
No, I don't think there is. And it's a shame that the world is. If Daniel Craig had been in that scenario would have been milked for all it's worth. It wouldn't have just, as it stands, because it's a Pierce Brosnan film, it gives way to the usual like crass quips and explosions, and it's a shame that doesn't.
And Denise Richards.
So I think for that reason, I'd probably go with Goldfinger, because he set the gold standard for Bond villains. I mean, every Bond villain owes itself to him, to one degree or another. Just the idea that no matter how, you know, Bond being a thorn in a particular villain's side, Goldfinger just is completely unflappable, and more often than not is in control of the situation.
Yeah.
And you do genuinely wonder how Bond is going to defeat this guy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's in Connery's case, in that it's more happenstance more than anything else that caused him to defeat Goldfinger. So I think, although he's not a baddie that goes toe to toe with Bond physically, I think psychologically he's the equal to Bond, if not ahead of him, because, you know, as we find out that Bond can't work out the scheme of him irradiating all the gold straight away, and then Goldfinger says, well, who said anything about stealing it from Fort Knox? And it's like, and then Bond appreciates how much of a genius plot that is, which that doesn't happen all that often with
it doesn't. You can very easily sort of just look at Sean Connery and the way he plays Bond in Goldfinger, that he's actually, because I mean, really, he isn't the super intelligent spy that he'd have you believe in Goldfinger. He does make quite a lot of rookie mistakes, and he's quite
Mm.
behind the audience. So then coming to appreciate Goldfinger's plan and how ingenious it is quite, is like you said, it's quite a clever change of direction, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right, so henchman or woman, you can choose from Oddjob, Mayday, Mr. Hinks, Jaws, Xenia Zdragevna Onatop, or Rosa Klebb.
It's got to be Jaws.
Okay. Yeah,
For me anyway, it's got to be Jaws because yeah, I remember watching The Spy Who Loved Me when I was younger for the first time. I must have been about probably 8 or 9, and just that character is just so brilliantly conceived and played by Richard Keel.
Yeah.
It's really well done. It's outlandish and it's cartoonish, and you appreciate it on that level. But there is also a real sense of threat and
totally
danger to it. And it's humorous as well. It's played just enough for laughs. It's just dramatically engaging enough that you believe in the character. Yet it is played for laughs because it is in a Roger Moore Bond film. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that you mentioned Mr. Hinks there, because Mr. Hinks was obviously from Spectre, wasn't he? Which is obviously a Daniel Craig film. Hinks is a very much a kind of one-dimensional, fairly dull, humorless character, whereas Jaws has got a lot of humour and personality invested in him, which I think is kind of indicative of the Roger Moore era.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
And I like that. I think it's great, and it's a shame they messed the character up with Moonraker, but that's another argument.
Yeah, well, that's. I was hoping you were going to sort of tie that up by talking about Moonraker, because there's for the crass direction that they take Jaws in Moonraker, there is one particular moment which I'm sure you probably can think of what I'm going to say. Where he is dressed as a clown and he's walking very slowly and menacingly down towards an alleyway where Bond is there with Manuela, and it's actually quite chilling, despite the fact that he's dressed so over the top. I mean, it's a moment that you don't expect within Moonraker at all, although there are some really solid scenes in Moonraker, but it's one of those that you just kind of, that people forget about the character of Jaws, the way he is in Moonraker. It's just a shame that they decide to partner him up with a blonde bimbo, but there we go. All right, cool. So we've got Jaws, right? The Bond woman this time. This is always a tricky category. So you can have Ava Green's Vesper Lind. You can have Ursula Andress's Honey Rider. You have Maud Adams' Octopussy. You can have Halle Berry's Jinx, if you really want to. You can have Michelle Yeoh's Wei Lin. Or you can have the most recent, Lea Seydoux' Madeline Swan. Who are you going to go for?
I mean, it's Eva Green in Casino Royale. I mean, easily. I mean, I think she blows all of the rest of those characters out of the water, because she's not an archetype. She's not. I mean, I'm not suggesting they're all like that. I mean, I do like Michelle Yeoh's performance as Wei Lin in Tomorrow Never Dies, but Eva Green plays a human being. She plays the person that captures Bond's heart and then betrays him. But then you realise there's actual darkness in her past, which has kind of governed her to behave like that. And I remember watching Casino Royale thinking, blimey, I don't think I've ever seen Bond pushed to the emotional ragged edge like this before. I mean, somewhat justifiably, the treatment of female characters in Bond movies is criticised, and rightly so. And I think that they did such a good job in Casino Royale of reclaiming that, of going, we're not going to rely on sort of outdated jokes and sexist attitudes. We're actually going to build a really, really good, strong character with her own motivations, her own desires, who draws Bond in, and inadvertently helps shape his psyche. She makes him who he is, partly.
Yeah.
and that's powerful. It's really powerful, and I think Eva Green plays it brilliantly. She's got her chemistry with Daniel Craig is fantastic.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. I agree. Definitely.
really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that I'll always remember with this. Like, it must have been just after the film came out. I remembered my mum saying, "Yeah, it's really good. I enjoyed the film," but she said, not really bothered by the actress. She's not much to look at, really, is she?" And I thought, I'm going to disagree with you straight away about that. Ava Green, oh my goodness me, yes, no.
I mean, that I think that's where a lot of the other Bond films fell down, didn't they? Because they cast actresses based on their looks,
Yeah.
and Casino Royale kind of brought it out of that period. I mean, you know, she is the intellectual equal of Bond, and you know, she's the one who has the authority to not bankroll him through the pivotal casino scene if he crashes out, which obviously he does initially. So she has actually got, you know, a real measure of authority, which is quite unusual in a Bond movie. To see that in a female character, I mean, it's terrible to say it, but it's true. There are a lot of aspects of the Bond films that haven't dated very well, and I say that as, you know, someone who's been a huge Bond fan since the age of 9 or 10. Then you get older and you think, you know, that
yeah.
But I don't. Casino Royale won't be one of those films because I think it gets its main sort of female antagonist, protagonist, however you want to describe it, absolutely right. It's just a fantastic character.
Yeah, and I'm kind of reading back through the books at the moment because I want to do a review of the Fleming stories themselves, and I actually very recently just reread Casino Royale, and Vesper's a fascinating character. She really is in the book, and the way they bring her to the screen, it's quite different to the novel, but in the same way, the dynamic, like you said, between Daniel Craig and Ava Green is spot on. You couldn't really ask for better between the two of them. So yeah, she's my pick totally for that category as well.
That initial scene when they're on the train, just bantering with each other, is probably got the most kind of sophisticated, grown-up dialogue probably in any Bond film, really.
Yeah.
That might be the best written scene, I think, out of any Bond film that's ever been made. It's
a scene that could have been just so throwaway as well, couldn't it? Really, but the way that's sort of, I think it's Paul Haggis, wasn't it, who was contributed a lot to the screenplay for the film, working with Neil Purvis and Robert Wade. It's really, really well written. Really well written. Okay, so the final category is the card. So you can have the Aston Martin DB5. You can have from whichever film you want to use it from. The Lotus Esprit. You can have this is going to show my ignorance with types of cars. The car that does the in the Man with the Golden Gun. What was that? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What was it? A Dodge Ram?
I can't think what it is either.
Yeah.
You can have Tim Dalton's Aston Martin from The Living Daylights. You can have, I'm trying to look at this picture now, trying to work out which one it is. You can have the BMW, I think it is, from The World Is Not Enough. Or you can have the car that goes through the alleyway on its side in Las Vegas from Diamonds Are Forever.
I mean, I think that, why is that the hardest category to answer out of all of them? That's the one I've had most. I think it would have to be Tim Dalton's Aston Martin Vantage from The Living Daylights. I think that turns up again in No Time to Die. We were all gearing up towards seeing that, weren't we? Because we see in the trailer that Bond exits it in London, I think. He gets steps out of it. It's like, oh, right, we're going to have to wait a bit longer to see what context the car actually appears in now.
I'll tell you what, in that particular scene from that trailer, Daniel Craig looks better than ever when he's getting out of the car and just stood there in the sunglasses. I mean, that's just for me.
Isn't he? But I wonder if a lot of that was driven by the fact that he is actually next to that car. It's one of the. I mean, it's one of the best Bond cars ever. I know a lot of people remember the DB5, but the van's it's so brilliant. I mean, the kit that it's equipped with. The snow sleds, the missiles, the rocket booster. It's great, and it's interesting because obviously Tim Dalton's period is seen as being relatively like dour and serious, but it could go crazy when it wanted to. The Tim Dalton period had outlandish moments like that. And it's good fun seeing a relatively serious Bond portrayal at the wheel of a car that is so gadget laden. And nice to look at as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you for your choices for my categories. I'm gonna tell you mine now. I'm just gonna go through mine quickly because you've gone so thoroughly through yours. I might give a bit of reason as to why for mine, but I think they'll be pretty self-explanatory. So my Bond is going to be Tim because he's my favourite. Timothy Dalton's my favourite James Bond. I know everybody says, well, Sean started it off. He's got to be the best. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He's a great Bond, but I love both of Tim's films. I think he captures the essence of the character straight from the book for me. And he is doing what Daniel Craig is doing now 20 years ago.
He was really ahead of his time. Yeah.
My villain, I actually went exactly the same as you. I went for Goldfinger. I think probably because I've just recently watched the film again, and Gert Frobers just plays him brilliantly. I think I was very close to putting Le Chiffre in there because Mads Mikkelsen again is superb in Casino Royale, but I think Tim should go up against Goldfinger. With Jaws as the henchman. I would just love to see Tim going up against Jaws. Like the height difference would be extraordinary. The Bond woman I'd like him with again is Vesper. And the car, I'm trying to decide now. Tim's car obviously is the one that you chose. I do love that. I do love that car, and I think it suits him really well. But I would like to see him behind the wheel of the DB5 as well, just for its iconic status. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. So those are my choices anyway. It's hard, it's difficult, but
it's really, really tough. I mean, it's probably easier for me to pick the Bond films that I don't like than the ones that I do like. So I think half of all the Bond films made are good to great or brilliant, as in the case of something like Casino Royale. I think some of them are a bit kind of near, and I think 3 or 4 of them are genuinely appalling.
Okay, so I really want to know which ones are genuinely appalling then.
So I would go for Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay.
The Man with the Golden Gun.
Okay.
And Die Another Day. I'd say they're the worst ones out of all of them. There's probably nothing controversial there, but that's what I would go for. What would you have? What would yours be?
Well, again, this is as I'm going through all of them. That will be probably my final sort of Bond-related video, tying it all together. I'm waiting until No Time to Die eventually comes out to see where that will fall in my list. I'm hoping quite high. But my least favourites, Diamonds and Die Another Day are definitely near the bottom for me. Quantum of Solace wouldn't be too far higher up because I watched that again recently, and despite liking it when it was first released, I do really struggle with that film. What else? Is there any others that I really dislike? Man with the Golden Gun I can forgive for Christopher Lee, because Scaramanga is a top villain, but it's a shame about the rest of the film, really. But yeah, no, I know where you're coming from with that one.
Wine called Foo Yuck. Like
Yeah, 74, sir.
Yeah, exactly. A controversial opinion. I think Quantum of Solace is better than Spectre.
You know what? I'd probably give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at least Quantum of Solace has got I mean, it's very messy, and the editing is too frenetic, and the story doesn't make a lot of sense. But at least Quantum of Solace has got a kind of like demented kind of personality to it.
Yeah.
And it feels quite singular. It feels quite unique. Whereas Spectre, they had no idea what kind of film they were making. Is it a Roger Moore film? Is it a Timothy Dalton film? Is it a Daniel Craig film? I thought Spectre was all over the place and quite boring, actually, to boot, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
do you know what? Because I'm sort of writing the reviews of the Daniels at the moment. I've actually gone back through and watched them most recently of all the films, and when I came to Spectre, I thought this time I'm actually going to find something that I'm actually going to find it quite entertaining, but it really does drag, that film. There are some moments where you think, oh, okay, they're going in an interesting direction here, but then it just kind of, I don't know, they come up with ideas that just seem a bit wasted to me.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. It seems a bit throwaway, almost as if Sam Mendes just kind of thought, well, I've made my one James Bond film. I'm just being kind of coaxed to come back to do another.
Yeah, which is what happened, because he didn't want to do it, and then they coaxed him back into it, and you can see the strain. The strain is very much there on the big screen, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm going to press you now, then, because you've given me your three worst. If you had to pick at this particular moment a top three, what would you go for?
Yeah, it's a good one. So Goldfinger would be one of them.
Cool.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I think, would be the other one.
Okay.
And I'd have to say Casino Royale, probably Casino Royale. I mean,
Solid.
it would be a tie between Casino Royale or Skyfall, but I think Casino Royale just about pips it for me.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I have always said and continue to say, as I'm watching the Connerys at the moment, I'm sort of doing it on a weekly basis at the moment, just to sort of kick the boredom. I would say his best performance is in From Russia with Love. So From Russia with Love's my personal favourite of his, and that would be one of my top three. Oh God, it's really difficult. I'm going to say at the moment, Casino Royale, From Russia with Love, and License to Kill. I love License to Kill. There are some dodgy moments in it, but I think it's so ahead of its time. And that tanker chase at the end is amazing. Such a good finale.
And like you said, without that film, we wouldn't have had the Daniel Craig films. I mean, no. Timothy Dalton. It's just such a shame that Timothy Dalton was doing that, but the audience wasn't there.
Yeah,
he was too far ahead of his time, and he was competing with so much blockbuster competition that year, from like Lethal Weapon 2 and Indiana Jones.
It was crazy.
It was a shame that had to happen. But everything that Daniel Craig does, one needs to credit Timothy Dalton with having done that 20 odd, nearly 30 odd years ago now. So
yeah. Cool. Okay. I think we'll leave it there in terms of the James Bond chat. But it's been really nice catching up with you. Anyway, we'll do like a proper sort of informal goodbye in a second. But thank you for joining me this evening. And hopefully, I mean, I'm saying all this and recording the video on this chat. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to stick this up on my on my YouTube. So I'll see how it goes. If not, then I'll send it to you so you can enjoy it on a day when you're feeling particularly bored.
There's a lot of those days lately. There's a
Well,
lot.
yeah, I know what's going on. It's
Yeah,
but you know it will we'll have an end date at some point to all of this, and things will
yeah,
get some degree of normality.
yeah, yeah.
All right, cheers, Sean. Thanks for that. Thanks for catching up, and hopefully we'll do another one of these again soon.
Look forward to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
cheers. Bye.
Bye. Bye.